Look, we've talked about this Auburn game. We've talked about what we think's going to happen. We've talked about what might happen. We've talked about what has happened in other games. But today we're going to tell you what you should be excited about, what you should be nervous about, and what you are not expecting on Saturday in Athens next on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook of Locked On Podcast. More on them in a moment. He is Daniel. I am Clint. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Thank you for the everydayers that are here and the people that stick around for the loyal third segment listeners. They get a little extra special. Daniel will let you know. We're going to be talking about what we're excited for, what we are bucket worthy for. And by the way, we had to get a whole new batch of buckets, bowls, just anything that had walls and an opening that was small enough to sit in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, I actually got so bad on Saturday, I abandoned the bucket strategy altogether. And I just said, what is a house if not one large bucket? Clint?
It's just a large bucket waiting to be used. We're going to tell you then also what you might be sleeping on, but if we understand how Georgia and Kirby are approaching this game, that you shouldn't be. Let's start with what we are very excited for. Daniel, what about this game makes you sit and ponder, gosh, this feels good. This, I can't wait to feast my eyes on this. What would that be?
It's the first real home game of 2024. You realize this is the first time, Zach told us this yesterday, this is the first time that Auburn has traveled away from Jordan-Hare Stadium this year. Georgia has played one home game so far this year, and it didn't really count. It was against Tennessee Tech. That's not a real game. So, yeah, it's fun to play a Mercedes-Benz in the opener. Yes, we got an SEC road opener out of the way. Yes, we traveled to Alabama in the biggest game of the season so far in college football. But my gosh, I'm excited for a little home cooking in this game. I'm excited for the crowd to get behind this Georgia team. People have been talking about the fast starts, the slow starts. Why? What are the reasons that Georgia can't start fast? Let me tell you. The more I think about this game, the more I think Georgia is going to come out and start fast because it's a home game, because it's a home crowd in Sanford Stadium. That means a lot in college football. I think it's going to mean a lot to this team. I think you're going to see them play fast. I think you're going to see them play loose. I think you're going to see them play free. And I think you're going to see them play against a football team that, while still talented, is not as good as them. And so, yeah, I think Georgia's going to get off to a fast start in this game. And that, if you're a Georgia fan, man, what could be more exciting than that? You desperately need to see it after Clemson, Kentucky, and Alabama, the starts that they got off to there.
What I'm excited about is I think we have seen a renewed Bobo and a turned over leaf of Bobo. We saw this with Todd Monken and Kirby Smart, Daniel. And Kirby Smart is a guy, like it or not. And you could say this is bad. You could say this isn't great. But I'm just here to tell you, it's who the man is. He doesn't like giving. He's a control freak who has trust issues.
Yeah.
Okay. There it is. He limited Todd Monken. And you go back and look. Go back and check it out. He limited Todd until he said, no more. Todd, do your thing, right? Because he wants to win games and he thinks that controlling it as much as he can. Mike Bobo has entered. You saw it again. We were on the road against Alabama, and Mike Bobo had an open playbook from snap one.
Yeah.
Kirby Smart has said, hey, Bobo, go at it, brother. Like, I trust you. I've seen it. You've done it. The Kentucky game showed me that you can do my thing. Like, let's go get it. And I think we're going to see that explosion continue in this game. I'm excited for that fast start. I'm excited for Carson Beck to start cooking early. I'm excited for some shots deep. Got to come down. You got to catch the dang ball when they're there.
Who are you talking about in particular? Not surely. I mean, it's not anyone in particular that you're talking to there when you say you got to catch the ball, is it, Clint?
I have chosen not violence today, Daniel. I have chosen grace today. And so I won't name the young man who I'm speaking of that I have spoken about forever.
That's unusual for you.
Yeah.
That's you feeling generous on this Friday is what you're trying to say.
It's Friday. We're all out here enjoying, getting ready for the weekend vibes. That's the first thing I'm excited about. I'm going to do one other thing I'm excited about, Daniel.
Okay. I'll allow as many things as you're excited about as I can get at this point, Clint.
I started the generosity on Friday, and my man over here reciprocated the generosity and said, let's go.
Said, listen, we need it.
We're
here. We need the excitement.
Okay. I honestly and completely think not only the offensive side of the ball, we're going to see Bobo and Beck start cooking earlier.
Okay.
I think this is the game in which we see more rotation of guys we haven't seen play start playing more. I think with a loss to Alabama, I think with a need to go ahead and realize we might be able to get one more loss on the schedule. Can't have two more losses. That's unacceptable.
Nope. And hey, this one can't be one of them.
This
period
cannot be one of them. Thank you. We can't let them sneak up. We can't let them get their mojo going. So I think you're going to see a shorter hook on some problems. Last game, we saw a very long hook for some guys, gave up 28 points. I think on defense, we're going to see a short hook. If guys aren't, we're going to see a larger rotation. If guys aren't setting the edge and tackling that corner, I think Ellis Robinson comes in pretty quick. If we're seeing safeties not be able to get down in the box, I think we see Malachi Starks switch back over to Star in a hurry. And I think we see another safety get on back. I think this is the game. We see a larger rotation of guys, which I'm excited for because I think we have the depth to do so. And I think we're going to need to see younger, newer guys get that blood infusion into this lineup in a hurry, Dan. That's the second thing I'm excited for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. I mean, I think... we've mentioned there's some names at receiver that we would like to see work their way into this rotation. I do think it's probably a bit premature, and I know that's not what you're saying to say like we need to replace a bunch of guys like on, in this rotation, but I do think there are some interesting names that you could keep an eye on moving forward as it pertains to this Georgia football team. So that's what we're excited about. We're going to come back and tell you what we are nervous about. But first, want to let you know about these.
Daniel still likes the Auburn under in this game. I still like laying the points with 24.5 because I think this game can go ahead and get away from Auburn in a hurry. And all of these bets you can go over at FanDuel.com where we get the lines, we get the point spreads, everything that you need. FanDuel.com. NFL fans, you can start the season off with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more at the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $100, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 wager. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Make every moment more. All right, Daniel, we talked about what we're excited about. Yep, let's talk now about what we're nervous about because this is, in fact, a Georgia football game. So be nervous because...
I'm sorry, have you not been paying attention this year? Like, I mean, surely we don't have to inform you that nerves are important here. Okay.
Got to have that steel gut, Daniel, if I can.
Let me just stop you right there and say, I don't have it. I have lost it somewhere. I am currently looking for it. If you find it, please return it to me. I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Great.
I am nervous simply about this. And we can all agree, right? It's fun to laugh at Auburn, right? We're all friends here. There's probably still some lingering Alabama fans just in the comments right now, just trying to tell us about their daddy issues or something like that. But even if you're here, Alabama fan, we can all agree it's fun to laugh at Auburn. Hugh Freeze is making a complete fool of himself in these press conferences. Peyton Thorne looks like he actually has never played the game of football before and is confused on its rules and who it is he's supposed to throw the ball to and who it's not.
Yep.
That being said, turnovers are not a replicatable, predictable stat to base future results on. Auburn has lost 3 games this year largely due to turnovers. That's why they lost to Cal. That's why they lost to Arkansas. That's why they lost to Oklahoma. Georgia is better than Cal. Georgia is better than Arkansas. And Georgia is better than Oklahoma. And so ipso facto, Georgia should come in here and roll over Auburn. But the reason they lost those games is because of those turnovers. You can't just assume, as much as it's funny to make this joke, you can't just assume that Georgia's going to waltz in and have 5 takeaways in this game, have 3 takeaways in this game. That's not the case. If Georgia doesn't turn it over 4 times on Saturday, they win the football game. Period. They win the football game. But you can't predict that for a team like Auburn coming into this game because A, that's just not the way that turnovers work. And B, Georgia's defense hasn't exactly shown itself this year to be a team that's really elite at taking the ball away, even at punching the ball out, even. And so if you're a Georgia fan banking on the fact that Peyton Thorne's just going to hand you this game because he handed it to Oklahoma and he handed it to Arkansas and he handed it to Cal, I think you need to reconsider that position. And if you're laying 24.5 points, not talking to anybody in particular, based on that narrative, then I think you need to reconsider that position. You should be nervous because Auburn is as 2-3. They have talented players, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, but even on the offensive side of the ball, they have talented players. They have a coach that can scheme a football game, as much fun as it is to make fun of him. They are not as bad as they have looked this year, as their results would indicate to you. And so if you're a Georgia fan, that should make you nervous because it's a rivalry game and they're coming in here and they're not as bad as you think they are.
Yep. Daniel, what you should be nervous about is exactly what you said. Turnovers, if they are mitigated, if they are lessened, if Thorne doesn't, if they go a la Kentucky and they just say, guess what? You don't get to throw the football more than 7-8 yards down the field. We're doing quicks. We're doing mesh concepts. We're getting out in the flats. We're hitting these. Okay. If that's the case and they limit, they got some dudes. Now they won't. They're going to try chunk plays. I really think they're going to try the bombs, the chunk plays. But if they don't, man, it's going to be harder because talent gap is still there. Coaching gap is still there, but it's not going to be a simple stroll in the park. They start turning the ball over. This snowballs in a hurry. And that's what I anticipate still does happen. I'm going to give you another be nervous about. And the nervousness is this. It's a simple tale as old as time.
Okay.
If it's not broke, don't try to fix it. Now, if Hugh all of a sudden goes back and looks at the last few times Auburn has come in and played Georgia and realizes, hey, I have a pretty dang good running back. I got a pretty dang good athlete at quarterback. I know. How about I just run the ball 12 times a drive?
Oh, interesting.
And I'll get down into scoring position, and then we'll see what happens. Then we'll just let the game come to us as need be. I really anticipate that might be a real thing that happens, Daniel, is he realizes and wakes up to the fact, oh, we might be able to run the ball a little bit. I'm nervous that Hugh Freeze has somebody talking to him. If he's alone, isolated by himself,
he's got a helper.
If he has anybody he's listening to that's finally getting through to him, that again, we said this before, they have 2 games on their schedule that make their entire season. They just got a flip yesterday, a huge quarterback flip from Notre Dame. That's going to make everybody give Hugh a bit of a cushion. Mm-hmm. He takes Georgia and Alabama to the mat. Iron Bowl is weird, and then the Georgia game is weird, and then you know what happens, Daniel? That leash gets a little bit longer. They feel good. They feel like they got their guys coming in next year. The recruiting class is there. Just got their big chip with the quarterback. And hey, remember when we were tied with Georgia heading into the 4th? Remember that? See, I'm nervous that somebody has gotten a hold of you and this flip and all the rest of the stuff that's happening, make him feel his oats a little bit. Yeah. Hey, he's got some starch in his giddy up and realizes, hey, I'm just going to run the ball and see if they can stop me. And you do that 12, 13 play drive that they've done before, Daniel, against elite defenses. They have done that recipe before. So don't be a student of history, Hugh, please. I beg you.
I mean, let me just make several comments. This team's going to get decimated in the transfer portal. I don't think Hugh Freeze has any idea. Like, he is trying to just abandon the season in favor of recruiting. Yeah. You remember last year when they lost to New Mexico State? He literally said in the post-game press conference,
"Yep,
I didn't spend enough time game planning. I was busy recruiting."
Correct.
And you lost to New Mexico State. He doesn't realize that this is not 2009 anymore.
No.
When guys commit to your school, they ain't there for 4 years. Like, nope. They go wherever they want, whenever they want. And so, you get all the recruits you want. If you don't win games, you're going to lose them. The last thing I would say to watch out for, to be nervous about, we know last year when these two teams played, Clint mentioned it, Peyton Thorne specifically ran all over us.
Yep.
I think Hugh Freeze is the kind of coach that's going to try to use that against Kirby Smart. And so I think you're going to see a lot of run plays that fake Peyton Thorne in the run game, trying to get Georgia defenders' eyes on the quarterback pulling and running around the outside, when in reality, it's Jarquez Hunter and the actual Auburn run game that is hurting us. I think early on, you could see that because all week, Georgia has been shown film of Peyton Thorne running all over them last year. They are going to be keyed in on this guy and his ability to use his legs. I think Hugh could use that against Kirby. So we will see if that happens. Some things that maybe you are not thinking about that you should be thinking about. But first, these.
Daniel and I love going to games. We love going to concerts. We love going to comedy venues. Doesn't matter what is out there. If it is an event to be had, we like going to it, especially seeing these Bulldogs. And if you don't think we're going to make our way down to Athens for a basketball game at some point, because this just in, I know it's football season, but we're making the march.
You see, it's him now, guys, right? It's him now, right?
That's me.
I'm just sitting back. I'm just sitting back.
Game Time has a feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to your favorite live events easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals. 50% off for certain baseball games. There's a super deal that goes going around in this app. It's fantastic. GameTime.co is fantastic. You get to go to that. Curated deals make it easier with this super deal, and you get to see the seats from where you will be viewing before you purchase it. All-in pricing is there, and you must have it included on. There's a filter that says on all-in pricing. List it all for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
All right, Clint. All right, we talked about what we're excited about. We talked about what we are nervous about. Now comes the last segment of the week. Just as a programming note, you already know this, but we will be back on Saturday night for our favorite show of the week, the Overreaction Show. 3:30 Eastern kick on Saturday, so we won't have to stay up quite so late. You boys won't have to be up until the wee hours of the morning, and that is nice. But we'll have a show immediately following. I mean, within an hour of the show of the Georgia game going final. The show should be posted on YouTube, so look for it there or wherever you get your audio podcasts. But Clint, we're at the last segment of the week. We made it to the third segment. The everydayers have been here. And so now let's talk about what people might be sleeping on. What are people not expecting that maybe they should be expecting this Saturday in Athens?
Look, I'm laying the points as a huge number. I feel confident in this game getting out of hand for Auburn, especially in the second half. But if you don't think for a freaking second that I am confident about that, but if you don't think that percentage chance the game is in fact a one possession game to start the fourth quarter, you are asleep at the wheel. Wake up.
It's negligence is what it is.
It is. I have every confidence that they're going to come out. But is there a scenario? And I likely scenario. Like, because it can be out there. I'm not betting on it. But man, y'all, I'm not going to be shocked. Bama fans on here commenting, and we even stand up against Auburn the week following. But this is a rivalry game. It's a known opponent. Hugh Freeze does have a couple of good guys on the team, and he can dial stuff up. So that's my first don't sleep on. My second don't sleep on, Daniel, is this. Don't sleep on us finally, for the love of all that is good, seeing our defensive line for the first time all year, healthy and whole, wreaking havoc on Alabama. They have Hunter. They have a good run game. I think the defensive line is the key here. I think the depth has been in question. I think guys getting injured and not being all together and having to be thrust into duty. But I think we're going to get a couple of young guys back in. I think we're going to get questionable to probable to in. Daniel, don't sleep on this defensive line feasting this game, wreaking havoc, having a high percentage. We didn't have a high percentage against Alabama. I think a high percentage of havoc rate for the defensive line this game.
Yeah, that was one of mine as well. Michael Williams, multiple sacks in this game. That's a don't sleep on right there. I think 13 is getting healthy. He is looking solid, and he is a difference maker on that defensive front that is not like anyone else that we have up there. I know Jalen Walker is who he is, but a different position, a different type of player. Michael Williams, multiple sacks in this game. I absolutely love our defensive front to get after Peyton Thorne or Hank Brown or whoever it is that's playing quarterback in this game. And so don't sleep on that. Don't sleep on a fast start. I mentioned it in the first segment. Don't sleep on Georgia finally coming out, scoring a touchdown on their opening possession on offense. And then, you mentioned it. Don't sleep ons don't have to necessarily be predictions of what we think is going to happen in the game. But I think something that could happen in the game, something that has a very realistic chance of happening in the game, is don't sleep on a shutout. I think there's a chance that this defense pitches a shutout, at least a 0 touchdown performance for Auburn. Don't sleep on that. From this defense, I expect a bounce back. I expect better tackling. I expect that when Auburn does try to take its traditional deep shots to these young wide receivers, that the secondary is going to be more than capable, because the secondary has just faced a receiver, Auburn fans, the likes of which Auburn could never acquire in Ryan Williams. And so we are not scared of anything, any little thing that you have in there. And so don't sleep on the secondary performing well, the tackling from the linebackers on the perimeter being a lot better, the defensive front getting after the passer and shutting down the run game. Maybe a couple field goals for Auburn, but this defense could pitch a shutout. I think they very well could limit Auburn to 0 touchdowns in this game. And so those would be some of the primary don't sleep ons that I have.
Daniel, I'm shocked. It's Auburn. You had every opportunity. It's a rivalry game. It's the first game in Athens. He's not going to do it, y'all. If you're If you're if you're a loyal third segment listener, he's not taking the bait. I gave him every opportunity in the book to come back to it. He is Daniel. I am Clint. This is Locked On. Are you gonna do it now? Are you gonna go for it?
Well, just hold on, because while I'm not going to predict that Georgia's going to run a punt back for a touchdown in this game, I almost said, but it's too much of low hanging fruit to say that Georgia's defense is going to score more points than they're going to allow. I said pitch a shutout, but that was my don't sleep on was almost, and so I'd like to get out ahead of it just in case it does happen. My don't sleep on was almost Georgia's defense scores more points than they allow, but I do think if you're going into this game, like I said, banking on Peyton Thorne throwing a bunch of interceptions, I just think that might not necessarily be what happens in the game. It just might not necessarily be how this game goes. And so if Auburn is going to take a lot of deep shots, boy, do I think Malachi Starks is going to come down with one of them? Yes, sir, I do. Yep. I do think he's going to come down with one of them. But, I think the defense is going to play well. I don't know if Anthony Evans in the punt return, I think Kirby's in his ear. He's been calling a lot of fair catches lately, even in scenarios where I don't know if they should have been calling fair catches. I think Kirby's been in his ear. We all know Kirby hates punt returns. He just wants the offense to get back out there on the field. He does not want to mess around with that. Nope. So it's hurting our chances to get the much coveted punt return touchdown. But it could happen, Clint. It could. I'm just saying it could. I'm telling you there's a chance.
He is Daniel. I'm Clint. Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast. Your team every day. We'll see y'all Saturday. Overreaction. See you guys then.
See ya.